I'm Frances Priest and I'm a ceramic artist. I do quite a lot of different things in my practice, but I guess the main body of it is in ceramics, and at the moment I'm making these great big vessels which are vehicles for my interest in surface pattern design. And they're quite self-indulgent pieces, and are just allowing me to really explore my interest in hand drawing and pattern making. So I'm very interested in clay as a material to make marks into, and to hold colour, to hold glaze, and so I'm making, I guess, great big canvases. So I start with a big sheet of clay which I just bang out on a big table, and then I've got plaster moulds of various sizes, and plaster's a material that's used in ceramics quite a lot because it's very porous and it helps the clay to dry out. So the sheets of clay are pressed into the plaster moulds, and the plaster draws moisture from the clay starts to harden, and then when it's kind of strong enough you can remove it from that mould, and that gives you a basic shape. From that point you start to pare back the form using these little kidney-shaped metal formers, and you just kind of scrape it back until you're very happy with the shape of the form, and then it is like a blank sheet of paper where I can then start to make the drawings onto the surface of the clay. The first stage of the drawing is made in two ways. I use a scalpel quite a lot, so a little bit like a pen, but it's actually incising lines into the surface of the clay. And then I also make little tools. If there are particular shapes that I want, I'll make tools from things like metal tubing, or I'll cut up sheets of aluminium and form them into little shapes, and then they're kind of stamped or impressed into the surface of the clay, and that's another way in which I can build up marks onto the clay surface. So once the work has been through the bisque firing, it kind of comes out, and it's just this very bright kind of white surface. And so then the first thing that I do is polish the piece to get rid of a lot of the burrs that might have been lifted up with the marking with the scalpel or the tools, and then I cover the piece in a black oxide, so inlay all the marks with the black oxide, which then gets washed away, so you're just left with all the drawing kind of standing out as a dark black line, and then that's the kind of almost like a colouring in surface, if you like, where you can start to kind of apply the glaze in different sections to the piece. Because of the time involved in making the drawing on the large pieces, it's quite important for me to be able to think about ideas a little bit more quickly. So I'll make test tiles, and I'll also make test vessels, so much smaller scale forms where I can just try a few different sort of surface techniques out to see how they're behaving on the piece, and that just, I guess, allows me to look into the future a little bit and see how something might turn out. So I look for opportunities and projects that will allow me to go to new places and meet new people, and then make work in response to those places that might involve the people that I meet. And that can be in a wide variety of settings. It might be in a hospital, it might be in a local community, it could be in a historical building. And I like the idea that I could produce a well-crafted object in response to that place and those people, and then actually leave it behind so it becomes part of that place. And I guess that does two things really. It kind of makes me think about new things, but it also gets people involved in the things that I think are interesting and important, and maybe allows people to try making something by hand or looking at something that's been handmade and responding to it. And I guess that keeps my thinking and my practice quite fresh as well.